Hi everyone, welcome to Module 5. These are the pre-class slides on authority control, and we'll talk more about this in the interactive class on Blackboard. Why are we talking about name authority control? Why do we care what form a name has? Well, when you can have some sort of authoritative list about how a name is going to appear, then everyone can agree who that person is or was who had that particular name. You can distinguish people with the same name. For instance, which Richard Dawkins wrote The Blind Watchmaker, the biologist or the actor from Hogan's Heroes? I know that only some of you will get that joke. And you can also relate pseudonyms with proper names. So AACR2 has some rules about what additions you can make to names. So we already looked a little bit in class about how dates are used, birth dates especially, and those are very useful for separating out the Richard Dawkins from each other. Prior to the 1950s, the word Mrs. was added to people, so it would be, Mrs. Larry King or Mrs. Donald Trump to distinguish them from their husbands. But of course, these days that is rare that women would not use their own first name without that honorific in front of it. Kings and queens are a bit of a problem because they often have the same names or they change their names when they become king. Popes are the same issue. And so you have to relate their, pope name to who they were before they were the pope, and kings and queens, same thing. Saints, and these numbers are related to the AACR2 rule book. And you can add some distinguishing terms. So you can say Richard Dawkins, biologist, if you want to make sure that, comma, biologist, if you want to make sure that he is distinguished from other people. Corporations are authors. And this is a quote from Mitt Romney that I think is very apropos to this. Corporations can be authors. So don't think of them as the publisher, but as the author of a particular thing. And there are a lot of rules about what can be considered something that's authored by a corporate body, internal policies, administrative documents of any kind. So if you were working in a company archive, this would be very important. Legal, governmental, and religious works, decrees. So things that are decreed by the Pope are listed by the corporate author name, which I'm not sure exactly what that is for the Catholic Church. That would be an interesting thing to look up. Constitutions, rules, legislative hearings, religious laws. Those things that record the collective thought of the body, reports of commissions, for example. collective activity from a conference. So remember, we talked a little bit in class about proceedings and what kinds of materials go into those. So how do you name them? Well, you name them by the sort of corporate author name, which is, the seventh conference of the American Library Association. Um, there was there's never such a thing as that, but I think you get my drift there. Um, Collective activity of a performing group. So, what kinds of things would be under that? Think about rock and roll band names, like the Rolling Stones, and I have an example of that later on in this. Cartographic materials emanating from a corporate body. Um, so, so Rand McNally is really just a distributor of maps, but the USGS, which is the United States Geological Survey, actually creates the map, um, and they might not be the publisher or the distributor, but the actual creator is the one that's listed here, this corporate name. So we talked about the word author being the creator in a more general sense, and this is an important instantiation of that particular idea. So in the statement of responsibility for an item, it can be something vague, but usually it has to be a group name that everyone understands is a group name. And again, I have a couple of corporate name examples in this slideshow. The other thing that's important here is what are called uniform titles. Um, and those are books like the Bible, like Shakespearean works that have been published over and over and over again in so many different contexts that you want to be able to just collect those all underneath one heading and call it the Bible. And of course, you do want to know what that variation is, but being able to say, here are all the Bibles in my collection is really important. But there are problems with those variant titles. So, the New Jerusalem Bible is a very different translation than the Standard English Bible. So even though you want to put them all in one place, you also want to indicate those differences in origin of the text. So the authority on authorities is this website, authorities.loc.gov. Here's the first page. Um, you can do a search immediately, and notice you can search different authority things. So there are title authority headings, there are subject authority headings, name authority, and keyword authorities, which is basically searching for any word across all those different things. Is it a subject? Is it a name? Is it a title? Corporate entities are particularly interesting in that regard because you might get some subjects for something like Apple Computer, but you also have works that Apple Computer actually is the author of as well. And those, if you wanted to see both of those, you would search them as a keyword. And there are some tips and help. So searches are left anchored, drop initial articles, truncation is automatic, do not use OT or NT before Bible chapters. And it gives you some examples there. So here's Bible, English, New American Standard. So left anchored means what? It basically explained it there. You put the leftmost word. We're writing in English here, so we're writing from the left to the right. Drop the initial article. If you want to do a keyword, something in the middle of a corporate phrase, for instance, can't think of corporation with a middle name right now. Oh, Rand McNally is a good. So if you want to search it as its name, Rand McNally, then you have to put in Rand McNally unless you use the keyword. And we know it dropped the initial articles, right? No thes, a, ands, all of that kind of stuff. Head, authorized heading, Apple Computer Incorporated. You get this listing. It says, see also Apple Computer Incorporated Office of Special Education Programs. See also Macintosh Developer Support, Apple Talk. So they're giving you some other examples. Maybe the piece that you have in your hand that you're trying to catalog and identify and describe has that Macintosh label on it and doesn't, you should somehow use this heading. So a C also is something that you would put Apple Computer Incorporated in there, definitely, but you might also have some kind of reference to Macintosh. So you should look at those See Also notes. If you click on how the variant showed up in that field 410, okay, and then it gives you an example of a couple of things that they looked at, and these were CIP records, which we talked about in class last week. It said that musical groups are corporate authors. Here's the authority record for the Rolling Stones. Notice all these are called added entries, these 500 fields. These are all the possible members of the band, but of course, different ones of them were members at different times, and you can see Ian Stewart is now deceased, and so is Brian Jones. I think it's rather interesting that in the 670 field, they name as an authority a Wikipedia article. So much for Wikipedia not being an authority. Here's an example of a title authority. This is 12th Night. Motion picture, television show. Where's the play? I'm not sure what my idea was here, but I think what I was trying to get at is that that 12th Night might have a standard title that probably, and I should have included that example here. And here, of course, is authors. So we all know the author J.K. Rowling. Notice it says under J.K. authorized references and notes. This is somebody else, J. Ridley, Joanne K., which is her actual name. And note that these say references. So if you click on Rowling, Joanne K., it's going to refer you to Rowling, J period, K period. Oh, this is out of order. That's why. Um, oh, that's a bummer. So you'll see that 12th Night, the actual authorized heading is under Shakespeare, and then that 12th Night. That's the play. William Shakespeare is included as part of the standard title for his plays. So it's included, the title is actually included right in the 100 field. And these are some variants, the 400 fields, etc. Oh, I'm sorry these got out of order. This is a bummer. I didn't realize that before I started. So here's the reference from Rowling, Joanne K. to, it's a C reference. It doesn't say C also, it says C Rowling, JK. So that's the authoritative name that you should use. That's how you should refer to her as an author. But she's written some other things under different titles, and this is three of those, and those are C also references. So under Rowling, JK, see also Robert Galbraith, see also Newt Scamander, Kenilworthy Wisp. Okay. So search also under Galbraith, Robert. Okay. And you can see that his name is listed here. Works by this author are identified by the name used in this term. For a listing of other names used by this author, look for Rowling, JK. Where's the title here? Oh, I guess the probably won't show the title on the authority file record. Okay, so that's what I wanted to show you about authorities. Sorry about the mix-up in the slides, but I think you got the gist. We're gonna talk in Module 6 about subject analysis and thesauri, and you have a discussion board posting due, and I will see you in class soon.